Welcome to Muse Monday, a conversation series with emerging artists and recent graduates about making it, mastery, and being a multi-hyphenate in the entertainment industry today. My name is Bryce Dallas Howard, and I'm founder of Nine Muses Entertainment, and you are about to meet the wonderful Nia Farrell, who will be your host for the series.
Hey everyone, it's Nia with Nine Muses Entertainment. Today's guest is Sam McHale. Sam is a producer, director, designer, and avid cyclist. He's the co-founder and company manager for the 100th Hill Emerging Theater Artist Residency in Bloomington, Indiana. As we close out Muse Monday, we'll be talking about an essential tool for all multi-hyphenates, collaboration.
Hey Sam, welcome to Muse Monday.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. You're the final guest on Muse Monday, and I'm so glad we could round it out with a really rich conversation on collaboration.
Yay, I'm excited.
Before we dive in, I'd love to know where you're at right now. Where are you zooming in from?
Yeah, I'm zooming in from like a property farm type thing in Bloomington, Indiana.
What brought you to Bloomington, Indiana?
I'm doing a artist residency thing that I helped to create for theater artists to explore how to create live theater during a time of COVID. There's 9 of us here. We're putting together 2 shows, doing some other creative work. It's been quite nice.
You were saying that one of the most important things to master as a multi-hyphenate is collaboration. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I feel like, at least for me, collaboration is like the one thing that I actually am setting out to master a little bit. I know when I first got into Bryce's class and the idea of mastery came up, I was like, I don't know, there's so many things I want to do. How am I supposed to pick one thing that I want to master? I feel like the more that I've thought about it, the more I've realized how, kind of the unifying thing between everything that I want to do is working with other people and collaborating artistically with people. So I was kind of like, if that's the thing connecting everything, that should probably be the thing that I want to master. And also, just collaboration's important with pretty much anything that anyone's ever going to do. So might as well try to develop solid skills in it.
Exactly. Like, you need to know how to play well with others if you're really going to want to produce the best work that you can do. I know Bryce has talked about collaborator helps you face the blank page so you're not alone in something. How have you felt that collaboration has supported you in your work?
Yeah, I spend a lot of time in my head when creating, so it's always nice to have collaborators to, I guess, just kind of bounce ideas off of, for the most part. Like, it's one of those things where I'm like, in my head, this could be great, but for someone else, they're going to hear that and be like, that idea makes absolutely no sense. And so I think it's been, especially in my directing work, I always kind of exist with like, the best idea is the thing to go with. It doesn't matter where it's coming from. And so at that point, it's anyone who's in the room coming up with an idea. It's all about collaboration in that sense. Yeah.
Awesome. You identify as an introvert. How does that play into your collaboration style?
Yeah, I think, there's certainly pros and cons with it. I think especially in theater, most people lean more toward the extroverted side of things, which can make forming collaborative relationships significantly more challenging, I think. The really positive collaborative relationships I've had have been with people who are significantly more on the extroverted side of things, because I think it almost like kind of balances out. The co-founder of this residency, when she and I were trying to, just figure out everything for this, I think that's when I became very aware of just like how extroverted and introverted personalities can blend really well. Because again, like, I was significantly more methodical in things, and she was like, nah, we're sending out emails right now. We're only 2 days in, we're reaching out to these people to be a part of this. And I was like, we should probably know more information before talking to them. And she was like, no, we can come up with what we need to in this amount of time. And so this kind of like finding the right balance between taking the time to think through things and then also just like diving in head first, I think has been really helpful.
Part of being an introvert is valuing time to recharge for yourself. Is that something that you bring into your own artistic spaces?
Because I really value alone time and being able to work independently, it's a value that I then make sure that I give that sort of time to my collaborators as well, even if it's something that like they don't necessarily vibe with as much. When I first start directing any projects, one of the first things I say to people is like, if we run a scene, I'm probably gonna have us all sit in silence for like 3 minutes after the scene, and that's nothing to do with like the work you've done. It's nothing bad. It's just the way that I need to process my thoughts involves a combination of like sitting in silence and also probably like me like getting up, walking around and moving in sporadic ways that won't make any sense, but I swear it'll end up being helpful, and then I can provide feedback and notes. And so it's one of those things where it's like during that time, it's like the first 2 rehearsals, I can always like see the actors being like, I don't know what to do right now. And then like by the end, it'll be like, I'll start like speaking and we'll like kind of go through some things, and someone will be like, well, yeah, okay, but then I had this thought while this was happening. And it's like seeing how like that time is then being like used by people when they didn't really know how to exist in it at the start has been really exciting.
I've never thought about that before, like bringing a personality trait into, well, now it sounds obvious when I say it, but like bringing your personality into your directing style. Like those things don't need to be separate from each other. You can take your values and how you like to process your own work and apply it and share it with others.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Sorry, you've blown open my mind and like how spaces can work. I feel like there's a pressure for folks to be an extrovert when it comes to the arts. And it's hard, especially in New York, where there's always something buzzing. And so how does the introvert fit into the artistic process?
Well, I will say, I mean, especially like with New York existence in the arts, there are so many times where I'm like, I have to be uncomfortable in this situation. Like I just have to force myself into like interacting with new people and interacting with artists in a way that like I generally wouldn't want to, but that's just like what's required. I mean, especially just like in order to like ever form new collaborations, that's usually just like what has to happen. And so it's one of those things where it's like, as much as I like love my introverted self, and I think it does bring value artistically, there are still times where I have to be like, I just got to force myself to do this thing now. Yes. Which is like, you know, I mean, overall, probably a positive thing to like push myself into the uncomfortability of it. But yeah.
What's the best advice you've ever received around collaboration?
I mean, I think like the general one that I hear all the time is like, always be working with people that are smarter than you, which just like, I feel like can be challenging to like get yourself into the headspace of that, where like early on it can be a thing of like, but then I'm just gonna feel bad about myself all the time. And it's like, no, because like, guess what? You're gonna know more about something than all of them will. And so it's just like this like cool sharing of knowledge. But if you're putting yourself in the situation where it's like, you always think that you're gonna know more than the other people, there's no trust there. And that's never gonna be an effective collaboration if you don't trust each other. But it's like, once you work with those people and they're smarter than you about certain things and they're teaching you those things, and then the next time you go into a thing, like, you know that stuff, and then it's just like cool, like forming this whole like network of knowledge, which I just think is so cool.
What do you do in a situation in which the collaboration isn't exactly working?
There are gonna be bad collaborative relationships that you're gonna have to work in. That it'll always be beneficial to be in a collaboration with someone, even if it's not helpful at the time. Like, you're going to be able to learn so much, and having to push yourself to work with people that you don't necessarily vibe with in the way you want, like, it'll only improve your skills moving forward when working with people, exactly. Which I thought was really great.
And you know the spaces that you want to be in afterwards, you're like, okay, I don't necessarily vibe with that kind of approach to the work. Now I know to maybe avoid that in the future.
Yeah. And then I also think like, then it's cool because when you do find the people you really vibe with, then they've also found the people that they really vibe with, and suddenly you like have this whole community of people that because that person worked well with that person, you're probably going to work well with that person, but they have 5 people that they worked well with that then you're also going to work well with those people. And so you like gradually just like can expand into this like community of collaboration.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like that's what the residency has turned into, where it's like people who know each other on the side, and then it's like, oh, okay, we all get along. We all know how we want to make work together, and let's push ourselves to do something in a time where like work is kind of up in the air.
I mean, it's 9 people living together on a property where we are unable to leave, because if we leave, we could be exposed to a virus. Like, we leave once a week to get groceries, and that's essentially it. And so it's definitely been a kind of a master class in collaboration a bit. I mean, so when like the planning process for this residency came into existence, it was basically like 4 hours a day, me and my the co-founder and friend Kindle Salampa, we were just like on Zoom with each other for 3 hours a day minimum, and so we had to deal with like the thing of like we're collaborating but also we're never in the same space and what that's like, and we were struggling a lot with like we just graduated, our entire lives have fallen apart emotionally. We are in just like day to day drastically different places, and so we came up with like a fun way of like gauging the other person's like ability to work at different times. We came up with the code name of Prickly, which then ended up just like turning into a photo of a cactus. So if one of us was in like a place where we felt like we could be easily agitated, we'd just kind of be like, I'm feeling a little prickly right now. Or we'd text the person the photo of the cactus, and it was just one of those things where it's like, cool, we're not going to deal with any of like the like super complicated stuff we have to get done right now, but we can figure out like how are meals going to work, or like how are we going to do shopping, like figuring out like what are the smaller things that like don't require as much brain power, don't require as much like emotional investment, or just like being able to be like, cool, let's take 30 minutes, we're gonna go watch TikToks for a little bit, and then we'll come back and try to work then. And so I think like even beyond just like communication, figuring out how to like specifically communicate with the individuals that you're actually working with, and figuring out those like fun little like code name type things can be really helpful, and also just like, I don't know, provide like a little fun element to working with each other. Yeah.
Totally, creating a shorthand, because you two are going to be working so much together. It's like, if you're able to just express your needs in a way that doesn't run into like roadblocks, it makes the process so much more smooth.
Yeah. And then it's also one of those things where it's like, you don't have to get into details or anything. Like, it's just like, I have to say this one thing, the other person will get it. We could talk about it if we wanted to. We don't have to. It's like, it's just like an easier way of, I think, dealing with things without turning it into like a big thing at all.
Totally. That's collaboration with care. So it's not always about like pushing forward the next thing, but it's like, how can I actually hold space for however you're coming into the room right now? And that applies to, yes, post-grad, yes, pandemic, but at all points, having check-ins, being like, what are we entering with? And having that transparency will make the space so much clearer for then work to get done.
Yeah, well, because I feel like there's like, we all get told the thing when we like first go into theater school or whatever, like, you're supposed to leave your stuff at the door. And it's like, that's just like the worst advice. That's just not possible. Yeah. Like, you can, like, there's like a difference between like coming in and like, I'm going to cry every rehearsal and like, it's going to be a whole thing. But like, there's also a difference between like, I'm not going to be able to come in and be like smiling every single day. That's just not going to happen. Exactly. And so being able to like have a gauge for that sort of thing, and being able to collaborate and be able to work with people, just knowing that like people have lives outside of the work that's happening, and things are going to change for people.
What better reflection than a Zoom? Because we're literally inviting people into our homes. So it's like, I can't leave anything at the door. In fact, you're entering my door and you will see my life. Right now, it looks very much like a blank wall. This is a curated Muse Monday wall, but it is absolute chaos outside of this rectangle. And that's what I'm bringing into the space, pure chaos. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us on Muse Monday, Sam. I really appreciate having you here as our final guest.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun.
Yeah, of course. Bye, Sam.
Bye.
To our Muse Monday viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. It's been an absolute joy to be your host. To stay updated on all things Nia Muses Entertainment, you can sign up for our newsletter at niamuses.com and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We'll see you next time.
Cool.
It's the last Muse Monday. Oh my gosh, I'm stopping the recording.
Congratulations.